Uh-oh.
Breathe.
The coaches are in. When you need a timely, transparent friend, tune into the coaches are in. Talking career, business, health, and wealth. You got a friend now into the coaches are in. With authenticity, come on, let's take a seat and tune in.
Hey.
Hey, girls.
Hey, girl.
Hey, girl.
Hey, girl. Hey.
All right. Now, there are some people who don't just survive their story, but they turn it into a gift for everyone who comes behind them. And today we have one of those people in the building. So just stick with us and we're going to get into it with our guests. But first, let us introduce ourselves in case this is the first time you are watching The Coaches Are In. I'm Dr. Cherita Weatherspoon. I am the creator of The Coaches Are In. I'm an operations strategist and alignment coach, and I work with women to help them launch and grow their businesses.
I am Allison Garrett. I am your behavioral interventionist, and I work with women who struggle with identifying exactly what has them stuck without years of therapy.
And I'm Dr. Malaika, and today it says I'm pivot with Dr. Malaika, but really I am your confidence coach, and I work with you on building confidence in multiple different strategies, different ways. So hi y'all.
Hey,
I looked
hi,
at my
y'all.
thing, I said pivot with Dr. Malika. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm really the
That's what we
confidence
doing.
coach.
That's what we doing.
Yes, yes. All right. So we are excited about today's episode because our guest today is doing something a little bit different, maybe even rare. She's using her story, the full unedited, hard version of it, as a tool for healing, not just her own healing, but your healing as well. Melanie Gunn is an educator, advocate, social worker, and now a published author. Her debut memoir, What Love Rebuilt, chronicles her journey from foster care to freedom. And when I say freedom, I mean the kind that you have to build yourself, brick by brick,
Mm-hmm.
faith by faith, with work and with a whole lot of grace. She
Yes.
holds dual master's degrees. She served as a school social worker, mentor, adjunct professor, and she has lived what she teaches. So today we get to have a real conversation with her, not just about the book, but also about what it costs to write it, to have lived it, what it means to break a cycle, and what survivors of hard, difficult childhoods deserve to feel. So, Melanie, we want to welcome you to The Coaches Are In.
Hi.
Hey, hello.
Hi,
Welcome.
Melanie.
Hello. Thank you
Yes.
for having me.
Yes, we're excited to have you. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Who's going to kick us off?
I can kick it off. I mean, her story resonated with me so much as a survivor of foster care. So I'm excited about this conversation for a lot of different reasons, and I appreciate your transparency and agreeing to sit down and chat with us and share your story with our viewers.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the first thing that I think about is take us back to the moment when you knew that this story had to become a book. Like like what was happening in your life? What made you finally say, it's time?
There are a couple of different moments I can look back on. I actually started writing about my story when I was in college, when I was at IUP, when I was at the University of Pittsburgh. I took some classes in human services and I would do some research on child abuse. So I would weave parts of my story into those papers. And I want to say it was during that time. So after I graduated, I don't know, I just started thinking about wanting to share my journey in foster care. And at the time, it was really just that. I wasn't a mom. I wasn't really working in the fields. I was a full-time student for quite a while. So it just took a while, and I just started jotting things down, and I went back and forth because there were a lot of things that I didn't remember, and that I felt that it had to be perfect. Like I wanted to know all the dates, all the times, and I felt I was missing different things. So I've even talked about this with Dr. Cherita. This book has been sitting, just waiting for a time such as this. So I want to say, when I look back at like the years, when I think about when I actually started putting pen to paper to make it more of a book, not just writing for a class or something like that, was in about 2007. I think when I pulled out all things, I actually jotted little things down because we didn't have the ways that we have now to save things. And Adriel was about 2 then. So I put it down. I waited another 4 years. It was 2011. I still didn't have information. I had tried to go back to the social service agencies and figure out different things that were missing. And I couldn't get that information. So I really just let it sit on the shelf. Fast forward, mom working as a social worker. Adriel has grown up, and I realized that I had more of a story than just being in foster care, because now I had actually, like you all said, I've lived this journey. I became a mother. I didn't repeat that cycle of abuse that placed us into foster care. And I was also working in the field. So now I had more to add to it. And I felt it was something that needed to be shared with others to help others. I'm working with kids like this on a daily basis, right? So how can I have a positive impact and really help somebody else to show them, the support that I had overcoming, because I used to struggle. I was scared to become a mom. I thought I was going to repeat that cycle. Wow. And so now to be able to put it on paper and share with others that I didn't repeat the cycle, that's was like, what do you say, the light bulb moment?
Right.
Being able to say it was more than just living in foster care. Now I can say I broke the cycle. It can be done. And here's ways that you may be able to do it as well.
That's good.
And here you are. Thank
you.
So tell us, what would you say was the hardest chapter to write emotionally? Not the one you had to live through, but actually had to write and kind of download that onto paper.
I want to say it was the beginning, because the beginning of the story is where I talk about some of the abuse, some of the things that caused us to be removed from my mom. And I didn't realize, so I've talked about my story to some people, here and there, not ever necessarily gone into specific detail. It might have just been like, I was in foster care. And I just, as that, when you're writing, you reread things over and over again, right? To see, punctuate, you're just checking things. And I realized there was a lot of emotion coming out when I was rereading these things that I had talked about before, and I could talk about them without really getting emotional. And I would cry just seeing that and thinking about making this more public. So those were the hard chapters of, wow, it's maybe not as bad as somebody else. There's worse, but it was my lived trauma, right? So it was really hard to see it on paper, knowing that I was moving forward with, I'm going to put this out for the world to see. And it's different than sitting down and talking to a Cherita who I know, a Malaika who I know, and saying, oh yeah, girl, I was in foster care. But here is more of the details that maybe that you didn't know. That was cool.
Wow.
Yeah. So did you feel like that did that bring about another level of healing for you?
It brought sadness, but kind of the tears of joy type of sadness as well, that I could think about, overcoming what I overcame to be able to become a mom and not repeat that with my own daughter. So it's almost bittersweet that I had to live that journey in order to get to where I am today. So then that's a whole nother type of emotion, because I can't imagine not having the relationship that I do have with my daughter. And so that would be emotional as well. And in a good way, for the most part.
Yeah.
To see where I've come from to where I am now. And to hope now that, Adrielle can go on and have, healthy, positive relationships should she, get married, have kids, and all of those things.
Nice.
Yeah.
So even
So
in everything. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, go. Go while it's in the moment. I'll hold it.
Okay. And so there are a lot of myths and understanding about what life in foster care is like. Like in reality, I think people tend to have this belief like it's at one end of the spectrum. Like children are going into great homes and they're loved and cared for in a way that their own families couldn't provide, or they're in these like absolutely horrible conditions, and as a result their life is going to be horrible after they leave foster care. And because those are typically like the stories you're hearing. You're not hearing about probably, like the tens of thousands of kids who are in between the two ends of those spectrum. So what do you want most for people to understand about that experience?
That experience is different for every individual. I'd like to say I experienced both ends of the spectrum. And again, not the worst of the worst. We were in 3 different foster homes when I was younger. And the first one was considered a temporary home. So almost like a holding space, if you will. We weren't supposed to stay there long. It was outside of my school district. And so we were just supposed to be there until they found a more permanent home closer to where I went to school. And in that home, we actually, my sister, I was in foster care with my sister, and she did experience some abuse at the hands of that particular family. So when that happened, I had to actually reach out to my mother and say, hey, let her know what was happening. Can you tell the worker, like, they took us away from you because you were perpetrating abuse. Like, I didn't use perpetrating back then, but you were abusing us, and now we're in this home and they're doing the same thing. So we were removed from that home. We were then placed in a more permanent home closer back to school, where I went to school, which was more of a loving family. So that other side of the love, care, nurturing that you're saying that perhaps wasn't coming from, my biological home, was in this foster home. Actually, this is a family that actually stayed in touch with over the years. So, good family, introduced us to church, took us to church and all of those things, and really don't have any ill memories about them aside from their dog. I wrote about that in a book. So that was a pretty good home. We were returned home to my mother after that. The goal when you're in foster care is to be reunified with your birth family. We did go back home. We re-entered care another time due to a situation with my sister. We went to another home, which again was pretty good. No awful stories. Very honest and forthright with like kind of tough love, and kind of tried to toughen me up as well. I remember that mom telling me like she really didn't think like my mom was going to change. And when you're a kid,
Yeah.
you want that.
Right.
You want to look like the other kids, and you want to be with your mom and your dad, no matter what, really. A lot of foster kids, even when your parent is hurting you, and I experienced this in the schools, kids don't necessarily tell, and parents will coach your kid, like you don't tell.
Right.
You don't tell what goes on in your household, right?
Right.
So that was this family, but I think they meant well, And so I think with all of that, people tend to think that when you're in foster care, you're damaged and you're bad, where it's not necessarily that you're damaged. It's you've gone through a bad situation. You're not a bad person. You didn't put yourself into that situation.
Right.
You've survived something. You've overcome something.
Yeah, that's good. Thinking you didn't put yourself there, that it wasn't. So definitely good. Throughout your story in reading, it's evident that your faith runs through the story pretty much in a very real way. So how would you say your relationship with God changed, deepened, or get complicated as you move through childhood trauma and into your adult healing?
I think as a child, you kind of think, why would God let this happen to me? Right? So not having a clear understanding, we were baptized Catholic, grew up Catholic in the Catholic Church. So the first foster home, the first permanent foster home, so after that temporary home, the first permanent foster home we went into, they were involved in the church. It was a Baptist church. And I joined the choir. Well, I'm sure I probably was voluntold. Join the choir, not necessarily a choice when you're a child. It's like you're going to be in the choir.
Right.
And, but I enjoyed that. I enjoyed singing in the choir. So that was, to me, some of my first memories of a relationship or faith, not really understanding the totality of it. I say that my faith really grew on my own when I went to college. So Indiana University of Pennsylvania, the Voices of Joy, Pastor Jay, hopefully it's okay to say that. They,
of course.
Okay. Like that's where I had to build my own relationship with God. There was no parent, there was no adult, there was nobody saying you have to do this. And I'll tell you all something funny. I don't know if I've ever shared this with you all. When I joined the choir, so when you go to church at home, there's different choirs for different Sundays. So I thought that's how choir was going to be.
Right? The Women's Day, the men's choir.
Right. We sang maybe one Sunday a month. So I thought I was going to go to, join a choir and sing about one Sunday a month.
You was like, wait a minute.
Right. But in college, that's not how we were the choir.
Right.
And we had to be there every Sunday.
We was the inspirational choir, the adult choir, the men's choir, the children's
mass choir, all of it. So I was like, oh, if I go to church and I'm in the choir, I have to come to church every Sunday to sing. And I wanted to sing. I love singing. So I feel the choir was really what helped me build my faith, because it really forced me to go to church. Like no Sundays off, because you're singing. If you don't come, you're not going to sing. I wanted to sing. So I really credit, that, and just having the faith, having the will, like wanting to do that. And so that really started all, the support and my college roommate and the pastor and all those things, where I realized that there was a reason that you go through things. You might not always understand it at the time. Like, of course, as a kid, I didn't know, why I'm in foster care. As you get older, and not necessarily that was answered in college either. I think after college and becoming a mom and getting into the field. Those are the reasons that I can say, well, now I can say to somebody, I don't look like what I've been through. Kids look at you, or even adults look at you, and we all have a story. And they think,
Right.
you haven't been through nothing. Look at you, look good on the outside. They don't realize. And when I'm able to share that, things haven't always been easy for me, people are like, oh, they can relate. And that's important. That's the full circle moment of, oh, that's why I went through that. Because now I'm able to share with somebody else that even though it was hard in the beginning, and not saying it's super easy now, but it's not as difficult as it was, that I came through something. And if you're going through something, you can get through it too and come out on the other side.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. That's good.
You're not what happened to you.
That part.
That's good.
So what was one decision you made early in motherhood that you knew would break this generational cycle?
Just that I would discipline Adriel differently with love. I was not going to, and don't get me wrong, I believe, spare the rod, spoil the child, but there's a way. You don't have to leave marks. You don't have to do, use other methods outside, I don't think, outside of, and I mean, some of the more just off the rails type of punishments. And when I made that decision and stood by that and stood in that, what is it, stand on business, as they say now?
10 toes down.
Right. That was the change. And just everybody around me, my support system, the aunts, the uncles, the college roommates, the pastors, telling me that I did not have to repeat the cycle. Because like I said, I was scared to become a mom. I just thought, this is what happens. My mom said this is what happened when she was younger. So now I'm going to do the same thing. That's what you think. And because you do see that, you do see people repeat cycles.
Right.
So yeah, I was really nervous, like, oh.
And we usually say that we don't want to be that person. And in a lot of cases, we become that person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's all we know, right? It's down, deep down. That's all we what is in there is what comes out. But I was gonna say too, thank God for there was a breakthrough there, right? Something broke that for you where you could make that decision. I want to do something different and have the ability, the strength to do, because a lot of people are like, I don't want to do what my father did or my mother did. And they do and don't know how not to.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? They don't know how do I stop doing this? Right. And I think that's a part of everybody's story. I mean, I could say, I think, we all have that kind of story. Like we saw something in past generations, we made a decision. But I think that, it's so important, as, I think Coach Allison asked you about your faith. I mean, I know that a lot of times when God enters in or is kind of inserted in situations and becomes more conscious, then it's like, like I have this power that I can change things. I have this ability. It's just good. It's good stuff. It's good stuff.
Yeah, I think maybe too that your education and your training gave you a different perspective than the average person would have had gone through a similar situation. And not to say that you couldn't have done it without it, but I think that, was probably additional support and help in you being able to kind of reframe and retrain and kind of step out of the situation and actually recognize like your responsibility to do things differently, and recognizing the impact if you didn't, like what this would mean for your own child when you had children. And I think even those who have like the best of intentions without not just the desire, because sometimes the desire really isn't enough
Not
to
enough.
change the behavior, right? But it's that, what do you do in the moment? Because I say parenting along with marriage and entrepreneurship, like these are the top 3 most difficult things you ever do in your life, right?
Amen to
And
that.
when you're in the heat of the moment and your child has ticked you off, as children will do you have the skills
Mhm.
in that moment to do something other than what even your natural instinct may be? Because your natural instinct might be to grab her up,
Right.
and do some
Yeah.
shaking and some
Just
hitting.
immediately, like not
But
without
so
any
what?
training. You're just like,
Right.
what you?
Yeah. So what has been poured into you that allows you in that moment, like you have something else to reach to and pull
Mhm.
out,
Yeah.
and not
Yeah.
just respond in anger?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
That's
would
good.
agree. I would agree. And I think you said it earlier, Dr. Cherita, when I was talking and you asked about like the moment, what made me know that I wanted to write and all of that, and my education and training. And I've never really thought about it in that way. But you're right. Studying, like when I said, so I'm in these classes and I'm writing about child abuse, and it's talking about cycles and how cycles can be repeated, but they can also be broken. And I'm writing about that. I'm learning about that. So it's becoming a part of me too. And I had no idea, I'm going to get married and have kids or anything then. I wasn't furthest thing from my mind at that point. But when I look back, I can say that, some of that definitely had to play a role, because I'm learning the information. Now, what am I going to do with it? What am I going to do differently from what, how I was raised? And you've got people pouring into you, saying to you, Melanie, you can do this different. And you're watching other people. So, there's role models. So of seeing how they're disciplining, how they're parenting, how they're marriaging. Is that a word?
It is now.
It is now. You're just watching all of those things. And, you're saying, I want to be like that person. I'm taking little pieces of all of these people, my college roommate, her parents, my aunts and uncles, my friends, this person, and trying to put all these pieces together to help me become a better person. Because there's still some imperfections there. Like you said, right? Parenting is difficult. I'm not saying there aren't times that I probably didn't discipline Adriel the way I wanted to. But it still never went overboard in my mind. I don't know. She might say something different.
All about perspective.
That's her book.
Right. I tried to, tell my own story from my own perspective. I think I did a pretty good job. I knew that I never wanted to be without her in my life. When she was part of my life, that there's nothing that I wanted to do that would make somebody come take her away from me.
I felt that.
Yeah.
So, that's good.
I know. I'm like,
yeah. That's good. And before I go into that next question, I want to commend you just doing some of the reading and being able to navigate difficult relationships with a mom, having mother figures, different people in your life step in and kind of add some pieces that were missing. But I just think God is so good, because he was good to you and that he didn't allow you to be left without that kind of love or show you, or the healing, right? Or the healing piece. Like, that's so good of him to provide you with what you weren't able to get from your biological mother. And get to this other side, and then next generation be able to pour into Adriel, to be able to pour into her. That's miraculous stuff, right? That's miracle. That's That's nothing that any person could do, right, on their own. That's something that has to be orchestrated. And I just think that's a wonderful thing that God did for you. Um, so then there are women watching and there are women who will be watching. And so what do you say to women watching who grew up experiencing abuse, abandonment, and they're struggling, right? They're struggling to love, to be loved, to heal, to forgive. And so what do you tell them as they're on that journey? They could be on that journey right now. And let me add, or maybe watching someone. They might be close to someone experiencing it and need to be, they need a word, they need something. So what do you tell those women out there?
A couple of things. First, definitely step into your faith walk, wherever that may be, whatever that may be. I think that's very important. You have to be willing to ask for help, to admit that you need help. And sometimes that's a difficult thing. A lot of times there's shame, there's just embarrassment. Like I said, you don't want to be different than others. Especially today's society, social media, all the things that we see, and it all looks really good. So that's difficult, but you have to be able to look past that to get to your own healing. You have to ask for help, and you have to be willing to accept that help. And, if at first you don't succeed, it's an old cliche, but it's true. Try again. Don't give up. Don't think that because you have a misstep that it's all, that's the end all be all. It's not. It's just really taking everything one day at a time. It's finding that person or those people, those places and spaces where you feel safe to share. That's, some people they didn't understand when I did share or why I did share. And I wasn't sharing to bash my mom or make my mom look bad. I was sharing for my own healing. I was sharing so someone could pour into me, so I could do something different. When I found somebody that would listen, that would fill me with something positive, their experience. If I didn't share, things could look a lot different than they do today. Because no one would have known what I was dealing with or that I was hurting inside. So I feel that helped in my own healing, and that can help in somebody else's. To just share. I feel that everybody has like that person. That person may get you to another person. And you just slowly build that circle.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Never know.
So before we wrap up, I want to just kind of spend a minute to talk about, we kind of touched on it, but I think I'd like us to go a little bit deeper with it in terms of this idea of being willing to talk and to open up and share, and how sometimes shame keeps people locked into patterns, and it keeps people locked in situations that they can't escape from. Not that there isn't a way out, but that they can't because of the shame they take on for a situation that they didn't cause. And that kind of just suffering in silence because they don't want people to know what they've been through, because they don't want to be judged for it. Right. So is there anything that either any of you three want to kind of add to that idea and share about that?
Takes courage. And something that I learned was, it doesn't all, like, even my life, like, it didn't become this story that I was willing to share like immediately. I think someone once encouraged me to just tell one person. And I found that one person that I thought was never going to tell nobody. It was like some older woman in my church that I knew if I went to her and told her, she was not going to spread my business. But what that did was it gave me the courage to share again to someone else, and then to more people. And then eventually my life became public. My story became public. And it became, I always say, the most liberating thing that I've ever done in my entire life. So then not having this life as a secret was definitely more empowering than being ashamed of sharing it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I am a talker. And I've found over the years that there's some things that have happened in my life that still remain on the inside. But there are things that I definitely needed to share. I think similar to what you said, Coach Allison. I told at least one person. And I think talking, I always, my aunt and I always, she laughs at me because I'm a crier. And so it's like either I am talking it out or crying it out. But I do believe that when you experience things in your life, it is really that are hard and that seem like somebody mentioned about being the only one. Sometimes you feel like you're the only one. That it's critical to get that out of you. Like literally out of you, whether it's writing it, talking about it, crying about it, but like getting it out of you. And I think that is the piece that really helps with the healing. And even when you're crying and you're talking, I mean, sometimes it's getting to the right people.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. Because I could tell a friend, but it's not that might not be the right person. But I'm saying, like, you gotta talk it and get it out to the right people, because as you stated, Melanie, and I think you were kind of sharing, when you were talking, I was thinking domino effect. Like, it's like you got to the next person and the next person, and different people shared. You know what I'm saying? You got into the classroom, and the classroom was a part of your healing, and you got to a family and they were part of the healing. And so even the tough love you experienced with is it the Bestine, the family that you were with?
Oh yeah, one of the foster family and final foster family.
All of that contributes, but I think to being able to share until you get to that person that kind of hits something, to me, that goes back to that breakthrough. I think that is so critical. But I do tell women, don't keep it in.
Yeah.
Don't keep it in. Yeah, get it out.
Write it out, burn it.
Yeah.
Whatever it takes. Yeah.
What you shared, Malaika, really, if that resonates with me, because it reminds me of when you say talk it out, cry it out. I had an aunt, I was a crier too. I'm less of one now, still a crier, but not as much. And she used to tell me, you're going to have a nervous breakdown, because I cried about everything. I used to journal. I wrote about that in the book. So that's another thing that you can use sometimes. Before you that might be the step before talking to a trusted person, right? I wound up, you said write it and burn it. I actually wound up burning my journals because my mom had read them. And it was like, that was, my private thoughts, like things that just probably really did help me get through too when I was younger. It was a missing piece. I said, if I had those, the book would be longer. There were things I feel that were missing. They were there in those pages, but they also probably helped me get through before. Those were times when I wasn't really sharing with anybody. I was younger. So friends wouldn't necessarily understand. That's when I was trying to fit in, hiding the shame of, taking taxis to school. Well, why aren't you, what's going on with you? You didn't want anybody to know. I wanted to look just like you.
Right.
It wasn't until I got, older. And like you said about the comment about when you find out you're not the only one, because I think sometimes when we're in these situations, whatever they may be, And that's, another thing about the story, like you don't have to be in foster care
to have the same experiences.
Right. Almost any type of trauma, but you find out that you aren't alone. And I think when we're going through those things and we're holding it inside, we feel like we're alone, like we're the only one.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Melissa mentioned, Melissa mentioned the power of words, which I think is important, but I think there's also the power of release, right?
That's good.
Because all of that, it's almost like trauma is this this steam that is like building up inside of you. And that if there is no way for it to release, like at some point it's going to explode within you, and there will be other repercussions from the lack of you releasing that. However you do it, ideally in a positive way. But we have to, because it's poison, right? Trauma is poison. And if you don't cleanse yourself of it, it's going to continue to impact you. And that's not, you can't just like erase, what happened, of course, right? There's still the healing that has to happen. Maybe there's physical recovery as well as the mental and emotional or even spiritual. But it's the longer we hold on to it, for whatever reason, we're holding on to it. Some of it is shame. Some of it is that we feel like we're still angry, right? We haven't forgiven, and that our holding on to it is hurting the other person. When in actuality, it's not. It's only hurting you because that person is doing whatever they're doing, probably not even thinking about how they've impacted you. Right. But yet you're suffering, you're literally making yourself sick, even if the symptoms haven't shown up yet. You're literally making yourself physically sick.
That's good, Dr. Cherita. That's good, because you know what? A lot of people mistake trauma for the event, right? Like there's a lot of events that have happened to all of us all throughout our life. The trauma is actually your body's response to the event, which is why one person can have the same event. You could have two people that live in the same house and they not have the same trauma. So what you said is the key that most people miss. They think the trauma is the thing. There's no big trauma, no little trauma. It's the trauma is your body's response. So each person independently responds differently. So what you just said is powerful. The event of the things that happen to us is not the trauma. It's our body's response, and holding it in is the trauma response that makes us sick and all the other things. I just have to give you
that's good.
That's it.
No, that's good. That's why I think and that's why it's powerful to get it out through some kind of way. But somebody said there's power of words. I think Melissa said that. And, scripture says life and death are in the power of the tongue. Not only what we say, as in on the
beach outside.
It's like what we release, like what we say, what we unload, what we download, whatever we do verbally, and get that out. It really does. I don't know. I mean, would you say, Coach Allison, kind of diminish that trauma that is festering inside of our body? I think of it like something that's toxic, like killing us from the internally, right?
And the holding on is the trauma.
Exactly. And so we don't get diagnosed. Nobody gives us medicine that says, okay, now if you take this for 5 days, you'll be good. Don't stop taking it. You got to take it 7 days and you'll be good. But it doesn't work like that. I think when we experience things like this and they build up, or we go through life as children and we grow up to be adults, we realize, wait a second,
Right. I mean, we could talk about the Black family. I mean, Melanie said it a little bit, like it is the code don't you talk about what's going on in this house. That's the trauma. You've already been conditioned that this event that could happen to anyone else, you're taught to keep it to yourself. That's the trauma.
Exactly.
That's the actual trauma. So
And
if we're conditioned, it's
Mhm.
generational. And
Yes.
what we've kind of learned in Melanie's book is she's broken that by sharing her story. So
Mhm.
definitely, commend you, right?
Yep.
You did your part in that sense. You
Mhm.
stopped it.
And we're also taught, in terms of keeping it in, we're also partially taught not to get the healing and the help for it, mental health, counseling.
Yeah.
So, and I did do all of those things as well. So,
Right.
in counseling different times throughout my life, during childhood, and while in foster care, in college, outside of foster care. And it became easier each time I did it to admit, I need help. I'm still dealing with this over here. Or again, the impact it has on other facets of your life, other relationships, because like you said, it is a domino effect. So that's interesting, the trauma, like you said, hold it in. And then, well, in order to get the healing, you might have to get help over here and go to therapy and mental health.
But you
then
can't
there's
do
a
that because
stigma
then you got to kill
attached to that.
somebody.
Right. But all of those,
Right.
We don't do that. I actually saw a post that was basically joking about it. It was like, you depressed, you better depress yourself down here and do these dishes. Like chores was supposed to get you over any trauma.
I'm telling you.
What you depressed for? You got a roof over your head, food in your stomach,
on
you
your
got a
back.
bed to sleep in. Like we felt
I'm
guilty
telling
for
you.
wanting anything other than what we now know is what was supposed to be provided to us by our family. But we were guilted into believing that we should be grateful for that in a way beyond how we felt. Like
That part.
that could be a whole nother episode. All the
That
stuff
is
that
so
was
true, though.
told and
That
said,
is so true. That is
I'm like,
so
ain't you
true.
supposed to do that?
That's so true. But and that's why I always say, like, I talked about so much. Like, once I got to college, I think we have these similar stories. But once I got to college, even before college, though, I remember talking about some of my situations with certain people. And so now I look back, I'm like, yeah, it did impact me in some ways, maybe in some relationship issues, social issues, that I had, but still I was talking about it. You know what I mean? I was doing something with that trauma. But I think, it wasn't until adulthood that you really, like, for me, it was like, okay, the Lord did something. He had to do the finishing touches because I was still kind of a mess. But I just feel like, yeah, we've got to. I talk to my kids like, what? Like, well, what's the story? I want them to know they can talk about anything, anything they want to talk about, because I don't want them to hold stuff inside. And I've got to, you got like your introvert, your extrovert, you got kids, they're different personalities, but because we know better, because we know what it does, we have to do better for that next generation. So, it's like, okay, let's talk, okay, it might sound, one of my sons said something the other day and I had to like pretend like that. Like that was normal. I was
like, you might got to go scream in your pillow, go outside down the block, but you got to let them kids talk.
Yeah, it's like, I wasn't expecting you to say that, but okay, just act normal. But I know that is important. We have to, because you know what, Melanie, what you're doing is you're changing the generational line, right? From this point on of talking, getting it out, how we discipline, how we address things, how we, you know what I'm saying? And I think, and not by your experience, but by the education, by your profession, by your knowledge, you now change the generational line to come. So that's so good. And we should all be striving for that. We should all be striving to make the change on down the line.
Yes.
Do it.
Adriel definitely expresses herself.
You said that's not a problem.
Not a problem at all.
Yeah. Geminix 2 says, I wonder if talking about it is difficult too sometimes because you have to face whatever is causing you pain. And I think absolutely, because it's sort of that, like, if I don't talk about it, it didn't really happen. I can act like it can happen. I don't
And it brings it
have
up
to
again.
deal with it.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Opens the wound.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But I think the reality is, whether we want to admit it or not, we're still suffering. Even if you're not talking about it, you're still suffering. It's still
Exactly.
impacting you.
Mhm.
And even if life is good, it looks good, there's still this little piece in you that is unhealed, that is broken, that wants to be healed, and like it's festering, like and that piece is a piece that is not available to whoever else it should be available to,
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
it's kind of rotten, right?
Mhm.
And you owe it to yourself.
Yeah.
You deserve your healing. You know what I mean? And not that it will be an easy process. Melanie says that it's not linear. That
Right.
means that thing gonna look like that, right?
Right.
But
Right.
it's possible, and you are worth that. And if I go back to what I was saying earlier about not talking about it because of this sense of shame, I think I've gotten to a place in my life, and hopefully it doesn't take the average woman 50 plus years to get there, is that I can't be so concerned with what other people are going to think, that I sit in my suffering, that I sit in bad situations, that I deal with nonsense that I really don't need to be dealing with. Because if I speak up, I talk about it, I say what's wrong, I say how I feel, these folks are going to judge my words, judge my experience, judge my past, all of that. Because I've got to live this life. I've got to live in this body. You know what I mean? And none of these folks really don't matter when it comes down to your healing.
At the end
You're
of
the one
That's right.
that matters. And if it is my voice that helps to bring about my healing and my freedom, I owe it to myself to speak.
Mhm.
And wherever that leads, it leads. I might find out that some people who I thought were for me really aren't for me. Maybe they can't handle my past. That's fine.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, if you can't handle my past, that's fine. I have to move into the future without you, because I deserve to move into my future, whether or not you can go with me, you know. So I think we just have to recognize that like we are more than what has happened to us. You know, we're more than the trauma, more than the bad experiences. And that we deserve the healing and the recovery to be whole, and to be able to fully live our lives, live better experiences, and not, it might make us maneuver through life a little differently. Maybe we're a little bit more cautious and things like that. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It's probably wisdom. You learn from what you've been through, right?
Yeah.
But we still deserve to live whole, healthy, recovered lives and be emotionally sound, and experience the love, experience the forgiveness, like both ways. We're able to give it, we're able to receive it. And oftentimes we can't experience that unless we open our mouths, talk about it, whoever you're choosing to talk about it, without concern of whether your business gets in the streets, because people want to talk about you anyway. They're gonna talk about you anyway, right? So, and I'd rather be the one to say it than have somebody else saying it. So at least you're gonna get the real story from me.
That's
I don't know
right.
what you're gonna hear from somebody else, but not letting that fear of what people are going to say about you or judge you or think about the experience stop you from getting your healing.
They used to say you had something going on and folks were talking about you.
Well, listen, your business is in the streets, but you're getting revenue for it. It is, you controlled it, you wrote it, right?
Yeah.
You shared it, and you decided what.
And it's helping somebody else.
And it's exactly, because I was gonna say earlier, you probably now having shared this, you will open doors and meet new people probably that you've never met. Like, this is going to go beyond your circle and really touch the lives of women out there who didn't know someone else went through it, who didn't, who thought about talking about it but didn't know they could. So I think this is the kind of vehicle that creates freedom for people. It just creates freedom. Yeah. Kudos to you, Mel. Kudos to you. I'm proud of you. That's awesome.
Yeah. We didn't say at the top of the show, but all the three of us, and boo to Allison for getting booted off.
Oh no.
When you go live, you just never know what's gonna happen.
Right.
So she got kicked out. But yeah, the three of us all went to Indiana University of Pennsylvania, all sung on that choir, all went to that church.
Yes.
So we've got history.
Victory.
And I think that was the place where all of us kind of came into our own spiritually, developed that personal relationship, knew God for ourselves, and
healed. Got some healed.
Yes.
Lord have mercy.
We come from good stock.
We do.
Yes.
We do.
All right. So Melanie, I want to thank you, not just for being here, but for doing the work, being willing to do the work that it took to write this book. I know it's not easy to put the most tender parts of your life on a page and then put it out there to the world, but you did it anyway. That is courageous. So we thank you for that. And I want you to just share with viewers how they can get a copy of the book, or even connect with you. Maybe somebody needs a speaker about this kind of thing, whatever the case is. So tell folks how they can connect with you.
So on Facebook, it's I'm Melanie Gunn on Facebook. On Instagram, I think I'm still Melanie Lynn 615. And then the book is on Amazon. So you just need to search What Love Rebuilt. Click.
All right. So make sure you grab a copy of the book if you don't already have one. And we're going to thank you for tuning in. And we will be back on May 18th with another episode of Viewer Questions. We're trying to decide whether we're going to continue with the marriage questions or if we're going to go to a different
Lord have mercy
subject matter. But that our viewer questions are always a great episode.
They're always juicy.
Yes.
I have to tune into the
tune in. Like and subscribe and share the Coaches RN with other women that you know. And I guess for now, that's it for today's episode, and we'll see you next time.
Thank
y'all again.
Bye, y'all.
Thank you.
The Coaches RN. When you need a timely, transparent friend, tune into the Coaches RN. Talking career, business, health, and wealth. You got a friend now into the Coaches RN.